Summer 2017. Who can forget?
It's every day, bro.
Great.
Do you want to jump in?
Absolute mayhem.
On a fight right now?
Yeah.
She just punched me.
Winter. An unrivaled nightmare.
We're literally stuck here. There's lines of cars, starting with that giant truck.
Careers were launched, reputations were established, and people were once again falling head over heels for drama that seemed so inconsequential in many of our lives. Summer 18 was round the corner, and many were anticipating these shenanigans that all of these characters would be caught up in, or at least we thought we were, because as the holidays dawned, there was a distinct lack of interest. In fact, fellow YouTuber Nerd City released a video in which he documented all of Jake Paul's antics over the summer, antics that were arguably much worse than anything originally documented in 2017. And yet, if it hadn't been for some very ruthless marketing, in spite of its excellency, it probably wouldn't have even reached its current view count. 700,000. Not bad, but hardly the peaks of the drama over the previous year. So, the only question on our lips is, where had all the views gone?
Here on my channel, I talk about beauty.
I want to talk to you guys in this video. It's been so long.
What's up, everybody? My name is Manny Amiway, for those of you who might not know who I am.
Well.
Friendship is based upon confidence. How many times now to say I'm doing Leo
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Right Opinion, the home of a twat with too much free time, and I think it's time for a story. I think we've had enough of those sorts of story times for now. Anyhow, I have a Twitter, and like most people with a Twitter, I follow people. When people follow me, I typically check out their account to see what sort of individuals I'm appealing to, and in some instances they may be YouTubers for whom I'll check out their channel and see if their Twitter's worth keeping up with. And at some point at the start of the summer, a person by the name of T-Spill followed me. I checked out their channel, around 15,000 subscribers, not a bad amount going on, so I thought, you know what? I'll follow them back and see what happens with their channel. They also had their subscriptions public, and because I have a bit of a vanity project going on, I often check my most popular subscribers, see whose attention I have. And I noticed they were subscribed to me, but fairly low down on the pecking order. However, with every passing week, I noticed them climbing gradually and then rapidly ascending. And I thought to myself, what on earth is going on? The channel had moved from 15k to 13k to 60k to 150k and so much more. So this is when I found out all about these people. And if we were going by T-Spill's thumbnails and titles, this was a non-stop festival of pure drama. And to be honest, they looked like people who loved a bit of spice. So what of this new rise to the top of such individuals? Well, they're members of what is known as the beauty community. Now, when you're as good looking as me, you don't really need any makeup to stay beautiful. However, as implied, these are a set of creators who are focused on the testing of commercial beauty products. But this isn't any old beauty community. We're not talking about Zoella here. As interesting as that is, we're talking about a community that's really popularized the nature of spilling tea and embodied a culture like no other, and you'll soon see what I mean. This sort of content seems to have been performing fairly successfully for a while. There are a fair few prominent creators in this community, one of them being Jeffree Star, who has a fairly hefty 10 million subscribers. Not the most, but he's more well known for his outgoing personality. As said, there are a load of other prominent figures in this community, a load of people who are very interested in that little sass. With the rise of channels like T-Spill and other content creators reporting on the shenanigans of these creators, it seems there must be a lot to discuss. And really the question that I want to answer at the end of all this is why? Why do people start caring about the drama of a community that has been functioning fairly competently for years prior? And why should people care? Or should people care? These are all questions that many of us here will seek to decipher today, because honestly, I'm just as confused as the rest of you. Why did this?
I talk to you guys in this video. It's been so long.
Why are you crying?
Outdo this?
Tonight's the night. Despite my grades, I knew I was smart. Are you a Jake Pauler?
Kiss you in the mouth, you're my mom.
I thought it was sexy, okay?
Man, I wanted to see the bed that I was made on.
I just learned about their most romantic moment.
I think we need to find out. But first, as I assume many of you will be unfamiliar with this given my audience, I think we should have a rundown of the drama and see what everyone's freaking out about, courtesy of my field correspondent Jay Aubrey or Jawbrey or whatever. I never really asked him what his preferred name was, so I'll just do both. Fuck the system, take it away, my good man.
If YouTube were a well-oiled machine, then it would be fueled purely by tea. So much so that you now have entire channels dedicated to the art form of spilling tea, keeping you up to speed on who said what today, who made an apology this week, who dropped the N-word 5 years ago, you know, the usual. But for someone on the outside looking in, it can understandably get a bit messy in some areas. So let's you and me take a little journey down the rabbit hole here, as we explore all the succulent drama that is transpired in the YouTube beauty community as of late. If we want to get a clear picture of this saga in its entirety, then we need to revert back to the beginning. The year is 2016. The beauty community has been popping off for a very considerable amount of time, with the makeup guru heavyweights spearheading the genre. Manny MUA, Laura Lee, and Jeffree Star were of the notable characters involved during this ethereal era of seemingly never-ending amity and goodwill. The three were inseparable, collaborating and helping each other out without a hint of hesitation. That is, until things got a little bit odd. Over time, the trio began to grow more distant, thus a cold blanket of uncertainty was soon draped over the community. These figureheads began shading one another in the eye of the public, Jeffree going so far as to take to Snapchat where he would constantly drivel on about fake friends and backstabbers, causing more and more speculation amongst viewers. What had happened to this group of creators who were once so close to one another? Fast forward to August of 2018, and Shane's docuseries on Jeffree Star takes the internet by storm. Being an incredibly extensive look into the makeup mogul's lifestyle, it obviously got a lot of people talking. Not just audiences, but Star's past acquaintances as well. Didn't take long for Gabriel Zamora to post this picture of him, Nikita Dragon, Manny, and Laura flipping the camera off with the especially spicy caption, "Bitches bitter because we're doing better." This one tweet ignited a firestorm overnight, with Gabriel then going on an entire tangent about how racist Jeffree happened to be. This led to some digging into Gabriel's past, and imagine my shock, Jeffree's fans were quick to turn the tables. But the disconcerting comments didn't stop at Gabriel Zamora. In fact, it seemed like a few other friends had some interesting opinions on certain races too. And soon enough, well, Twitter did its thing. Seeing as nearly everyone was exposed for being a massive hypocrite, the outcry amongst fans began, and well, damage control can only do so much. In fact, Laura Lee's apology video was really the nail in her coffin, as her channel began bleeding subs soon after. Laura Lee is now one of the most unsubscribed to channels on the entire website, causing a massive downfall that forced herself and others into an extended hiatus. TLDR, no one really knows what happened amongst the three. Everyone has their own theories of what could have happened, but it doesn't matter now because everyone hates them regardless due to their racist and hypocritical pasts. I hope that sheds some sort of light onto things. Now to throw it back to TRO before he slanders my good name again by calling me Jawbrey. I mean, come on, man, is it that hard? There's a space right there. It's right there, right fucking there!
Wow. What an exhilarating rundown. Now we know why people care about this so much. I feel like I've been electrified. The tea is running through my veins. Please go and check out my boy, Jawbrey. He's a great friend of the channel and an upcoming creator who's obviously destined for great things. So in the last few months, we all started using phrases to do with tea. Honestly, I didn't know originally where they were sourced. I assumed they were from the sassy talk show hosts because of their respective gifts. However, I realize now the beauty community has been using it long before any of us plebs ever acknowledged its existence.
Also, I just want to give you guys a quick little tea that I am in a hotel room, so the lighting and sound is going to be a little different.
This was 11 months ago, yet the cultural phenomenon only blessed us recently. Now, of course, this series with Shane and all the following hijinks has really been the peak of the drama. However, it's been building up a while before. Why did people suddenly start caring? That's what I want to answer first. Well, let's first establish one premise. Every community has drama. There is no community above this simple fact. When you have a collective people sharing in the same genre, you will have conflict. Even in cases where the community seems benign, like the animation community, it is unavoidable. However, drama in most circumstances is trivial. Even stuff that people make huge long videos on won't have a huge impact in our lives. So what really matters in whether drama has significance to people, well, like everything, is the reaction. I think that's the first important point to remember. Before all of these charades, the beauty community definitely demonstrated the potential for the sort of quarrels that we've witnessed over the last few months. And that's mainly because they're melodramatic people. And this should surprise no one because it is a stereotype. And although I'm not necessarily fond of stereotypes, when it comes to topics that are based more on human free will and decision, it may attract a certain sort of person and create a group of people with at least some overlapping traits. The people today are very camp, very expressive, and of course, as mentioned, very dramatic. So when all of these situations transpired, it was inevitable that no matter how negligible these predicaments were, it was going to cause huge ripples amongst the community. This is all worth remembering. The next point to remember is that just because there was an absence of reported transgressions doesn't mean there was an absence of transgressions. I've said this all before and I'll say it again. Without the existence of commentary, many of these individuals would not be held to account. And let me tell you, people like Jeffree Star have been causing drama for ages. It's just a long time it had its own realms of existence. And I highly doubt that before all of the drama channels documenting it popped up, that there was just this complete absence of wrongdoings. In fact, there are a couple channels who have been up for a bit longer covering this. That would be my guess anyway. Given how quickly all of these channels had a backlog of content when they set up, seems like it was something fairly endemic before. With all this drama suddenly erupting, you might think the beauty community itself has just blown up in 2018, and if you didn't watch their content, you may not have even encountered their channels, so the naivety is completely understandable. But the truth of the matter is that many of the people that we'll be talking about today, Jeffree Star, Laura Lee, have been extremely successful for the last couple years at least. Bar Shane Dawson's Little series, which Star has definitely experienced a spike in stardom, the drama videos didn't actually cause a huge impact on the traffic that these channels received, within their own fan bases at least. However, it has definitely led to a level of accountability that many of these individuals were not accustomed to. But if the beauty community aren't exactly experiencing exponential growth, why is there this influx of reported drama? So there are a few things that I believe are worth documenting here. The beauty community, as I said, has always had drama. That's important. It was fairly run-the-mill TMZ level stuff, but it was almost an accessory to the channels. A bit of tea here and there was normal. This changed for a plethora of reasons. As I said, the increase of these drama channels definitely generated a new level of scrutiny onto these creators. But on top of this, why did the beauty channel drama appear to take over from individuals like Jake and Logan Paul? And I'm not saying they didn't have any drama, they had their boxing match, but no one seems to have the ability to, quote, expose them anymore. Even the boxing match wasn't a particularly profitable trending topic for many YouTubers. Well, we have to go back to January to understand that, back to an event which, as mentioned earlier, was a defining moment for many creators, which was Logan Paul's little excursion. Now, the whole situation was disastrous for him, yet at the same time, in hindsight, although he's not experiencing the views that he was at the peak of his fame, Logan Paul and his brother Jake are experiencing considerable success, minus the criticism, which is a pretty sound combination, because although some may argue that any press is good press, not having YouTube at your throat is pretty great. But why did people just lay off? To understand this, we have to ask ourselves, how are people being exposed? Well, some may say when you do something bad. But I disagree. Someone being exposed is when they're shown as doing something bad for their own standards, and because Logan Paul set the bar so low with his behavior, he eventually fell out of interest because videos documenting his questionable actions no longer became questionable for him. The views fell out, and even though the Paul brothers are arguably just as egregious as before, no one seems to care anymore. Commentators who covered these topics, realizing the subject was kinda dead, then moved in two different ways. They either went to more nuanced commentary, covering topics that were more timeless, or they went into the whole reaction commentary trend, which was just emerging from a very obsessive Dr. Phil phase. However, not all audiences were interested in that. They're not the same genres after all. Some people still want to see YouTubers being held to account for misconduct. This meant there was almost a leftover audience vying for some sort of drama, and here they had huge potential for it. And this is where this little community of people was almost roped into this culture without their consent, and it was almost custom made. Their naturally sassy personalities made their reactions almost priceless. They had an audience that was equally susceptible to being engaged in drama. They had these personas that were built on the foundations of being friendly, smiley to the audience. And as an audience, your perception of these people was very precious. They need to trust these guys when they're going out to buy their brands. Being a judge is a role that is built on trust, and moving away from just beauty products gave greater potential for this situation. In fact, I'd argue the relationship that beauty gurus perpetuate is even deeper than any genre discussed on this channel before. They open up about a lot in very emotional ways, which is great, but it also means there is a level of consistency that they will be held to account on. And with a community, there will always be some people who don't have genuine personas and exaggerate or fabricate to try and win over audiences. So when the drama scene burst through the door dying to cover this, it was going to be raucous because the community is a breeding ground for factions and drama. You had a load of volatile individuals who are sassy as hell and yet at the same time love to share a unique relationship with the audience. However, what we have explained was how the market opened up for these individuals. But why did everything erupt as perfectly as it did? So I was doing my research and I noticed a trend. A lot of these drama channels who were covering it were sourced approximately a year ago, when some of them were doing this thing where they would select a clip and edit it in a way.
I just told you. I just told you. Oh, hi. Oh, swing, swing.
In fact, many of them popped up in the window of a couple months, which is very intriguing in itself, as although it's natural for people to create channels covering something when it's doing relatively well, there was no clear motive in this instance that would exactly warrant it. But whatever, I don't think anything shady is going on, so who cares? Many of these channels then diverged in different directions, realizing there was clearly a lot more to do, but all while enabling these foundations. And as a lot of the other drama became stale to audiences, there was almost just a slight enough bridge from what we've seen, like the Paul brothers, to this community. Arguably, that bridge was paved by creators such as Tana Mongeau and Shane Dawson, who had both roots in commentary and beauty, although themselves being rather independent. This probably lent some algorithmic purpose to permit the sort of sass that we've observed of recent. All of these channels are also very well organized with the sort of content they're creating. In fact, some of them seem pretty synchronized with their narratives. For example, T-Spill and Here for the Tea, at the time of writing this, released trailers for their Jaslyn Hill collab, and the trailers were identical. Now, this next part is conjecture, however, I feel it is fairly well grounded. A lot of these creators in the past year have been branching out their personas. They've been doing more personal videos. I can't exactly say why, but if I were to theorize, I'd say that due to the influx of more scrutiny from channels that are attempting to analyze their appeal, they try and create a third dimension. They try and introduce another facet to their character that is more than just makeup. After all, anyone has access to makeup. Anyone can criticize it. Anyone can criticize your own brands, even. People can judge it. What they can't necessarily contradict is your character, and eventually this led to everyone using deep stories to try and elevate the perception that their audience has of them. And then when other people witnessed this, they realized they had to compete in this market as well, and eventually created a new culture of deep opening up emotional videos.
This is definitely a video that I never thought that I would actually be filming.
So much has been going on in my life that I really haven't talked about, and I was gonna go on a long Snapchat, not rant, but like story time on Snapchat and tell you guys about it, but I was like, girl, let's film a video.
But equally, this meant that their persona was no longer a simple sassy element of a channel who could become involved in drama. It became an issue of actual standards. But the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And when the whole situation surrounding Jeffree Star digging up the racist comments from years ago because they didn't like what he was doing now, it was a perfect example of when someone's own perception of self becomes overinflated and they do something fucking stupid, which it was. And in a way, what many of these people had said in the past years were not any worse than what Jeffree Star said. What really got them were their own crafted narratives. Firstly, they centered themselves as this bastion. Then they created an implicit law which told their audience, if you've made racist tweets in the past, then you should not be supported, which is subjective, and many people justifiably don't agree to it. But it is subjective, and that's important. However, another implicit law that is pretty universally applied, that is almost assumed, is that you would apply the standards that you apply to other people onto yourself. So when it was revealed that many of the individuals attempting to bury poor old or rich young Jeffree Star over here had also posted some fairly questionable content, it essentially completely backfired. And when their authenticity was really put in question, when they had to make everyone's favorite sincere apology video, it all fell down for a few of them. Many people who've dealt with audiences and their judgment know that they care much more for the context of what it says about a character than just bare bones heat of the moment reactions.
I have no excuses here today. I'm not here to give you an excuse. I have no excuses. I'm only here to say that I'm so sorry.
None of these beauty gurus were really perceptive enough to gauge that. Their engagement with these topics was elementary, and they paid the ultimate price. And it hit them hard. We're talking content cop level hard. Their subscribers punished them because there was this image completely shattered, which had only been made worse by the fact that they'd attempted to embellish this in the months prior. And that's what this all represents, the perfect storm. This was the perfect type of place for commentary to settle for the summer, and for some audiences too. Because while Jake and Logan were arguably behaving much worse, people much more love to hear about the other side of a person. That's where the whole exposed term comes from. And with the cultivation of all these drama channels that really relished in the algorithmic cycles to drive home this notion, it all cultivated an environment for it to take the place of the previous generation of drama. Drama is natural. Drama is organic. In many ways, drama is expected because drama will yield from conflict, and conflict happens when you interact with other human beings. And honestly, if there wasn't any drama, you'd feel like it was a bit insincere. At the same time, forcing drama will naturally make you susceptible to being labeled as an instigator, something equally unpopular with an audience. But that's what these movements represent, a change in position. That's what drama does. If you don't come out of drama at least thinking differently of one of the people involved, then chances are the tea was a tad cold. For some reason, drama in the beauty community, as seemingly obvious as it should be, was ignored by many for the reasons that I believe many perceived it as too tabloid. Drama was an accessory, as I said. However, as the creators in it sought to increase their social standing and character depth, it gave those on the outside more to chew on and more to judge. And through the facilitation by other creators, the drama of the beauty community quickly spread, and we ended up here, with it arguably being the most viewed drama of the summer. And many of you, like me, probably didn't even know about it. So what for the future? I think it's difficult to exactly say how long this will persist. As said, drama is typically perpetuated through the shifting perception between viewer and creator. This is more possible when there are more ways for a person's image to be shifted, which is why a heavy incident can equally kill potential for drama as it may stimulate it. It appears we may have had that huge drama, though in the grand scheme of things, it's fairly inconsequential, so there's definitely room for it to manifest. The simple fact of the matter is that we viewers like to think that we are holding people to a moral standard, and we are to an extent, but we have two sets of standards. What is acceptable to society, and what is acceptable for a person or a community? Now, all of this drama is quite small in the grand scheme of society. It doesn't change our lives. Laura Lee hasn't gone out and assaulted anyone. She's just been a bit of a dick. But audiences haven't gravitated to this group of people because anything particularly egregious is going on. It's just a new set of fresh meat for us to get our kicks out of, because they see themselves as gurus. And we love to topple people. When it comes to drama, it's a fair weather morality. A set of dramatic people with dramatic audiences in dramatic situations, trying to be moral dictators. But once you become the dictator, the only way is down. And that's the tea, my friends. That's the fucking tea. See? I said it.
There's nothing like a good pot of tea. To tea! To tea! To tea!
I want to thank two people with regards to the creation of this video. Firstly, Jawbury, whatever you want to bloody call him, for his absolutely barnstorming part. He's a great creator. Check him out, as I said. And secondly, T-Spill herself for checking my scripts with regards to the topic and making sure the information I was basing my judgments off was accurate. I think that's one of the key elements of a creator. I'd also like to give a massive thanks to the editors who, once again, fantastic work. Great job, definitely check them out. Some of these guys are really up there with the best, and they will inevitably do great things with their lives. So definitely go and send them some love, because without them, the channel would not be here. Anyhow, I don't think I have too much else to say. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic, even though I feel like this is probably something slightly more unfamiliar with my audiences. So if this is your first encounter with it, then honestly, I'd really like to hear your thoughts too, actually, because, First impressions mean a lot. If this is your first impression with me, I hope it was a good one too. If not, well, I'll try and work on that in the future. Also, if you want to reach me on Twitter, @TheRightOpinion, as I said earlier, Facebook, I use that too, though I haven't used it as much recently. Discord, another thing that I love to involve myself in. All those mediums you can reach me on. I'm an accessible man, even though I do tend to be very busy, so apologies if replies aren't immediate. Anyhow, until the next one, I'm The Right Opinion, and I'll see you then.